My sales team has sold over $16 million of professional services in the last 18 months. In this video, I'll share with you how to conserve time on your first call and collect more cash up front without having to give out free advice to prospects who haven't paid for services. The best way to get value out of your time when offering a solution to your prospects is by having a structure for your calls. Most sales professionals and most sales trainers are going to overcomplicate this process. You want to keep it as super simple as you possibly can. First, you have an intro to the call. This intro is where you're building rapport. You're doing a little bit of discovery about why they showed up to the call, their purpose for being here. And then you want to go into the second phase, which is problem solution mapping. It sounds exactly of how you want to deliver this on a call. The client comes on a call with a problem. You want to understand what is the solution that they're looking for, and we want to map a direct way for them to get from the problem to the solution, then make the offer for the call. Failing to do this in the proper order means you've done it out of sequence, and it can rub people the wrong way. So rather than vomiting all the information that you have around your product and service onto them, we call that a knowledge dump. We want to simply understand and get to know them through a discovery process. It will look something like this. Someone jumps on a call, you have your pleasantries and your intros, you ask a few questions, which we'll dive into in a second. Then you'll go into problem solution mapping. Problem solution mapping looks like this. Your client gets on the call with a problem, and then you map out what is the solution, what are the outcomes that they're actually looking for. Typically, they're going to have 1 to 3 major problems that you'll identify during this phase, and then the solutions that they might be looking for. During this part of the sales call, this is more of a conversation where you're doing more listening and discovery rather than talking and spewing information about your products and services. And your cycle will look something like this. First, you have your introduction. This is the first 5 to 10% of your call where you're getting to know the person. At some degree, they want to know that they can trust you and validate you and your services. And then you go into problem solution mapping, or what you would understand as discovery. During this process, it's very simple. I'm trying to get into the root cause of why they joined this call. Remember, they would not have joined this call unless they have a distinct problem that they're looking to solve. Most of the time, they don't know how to identify that problem clearly. So it will look like this. You'll ask questions about why they joined the call. So let's say you get into this problem solution mapping. Let's say that you're an accountant. You would want to ask some questions that would elicit the pain that they might be experiencing. First and foremost, if you're a tax accountant or do tax advising, you want to ask the question, how much have you paid on taxes? Do you believe that you're overpaying in taxes? How long have you been dealing with this situation? What does the communication look like? Have you been making more money and not knowing what to do with it? Do you feel like there's other places that your money could be going? The goal of this section is to cast doubt in their current situation and to cast doubt that they can solve this problem on their own. As a reminder, if they could solve this problem on their own, they would have already done it and they would have had no reason to jump on this call in the first place. The value you provide on a sales call is not how much information you can share with them about solving their problem. It's about helping them clearly identify the problem that they have. Then you go into this section, which is identify the solution. What does the solution look like for you? If we were able to save you 20 to 30%, if we were able to communicate with you effectively, meet with you proactively so you knew exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it to reduce your tax liability, would that be useful for you? Great. Where would you use those funds? This is vitally important. Placing an actual location on where those extra funds would go, should those have been saved, is going to go a long way for them clearly identifying the outcome. Once they can identify the outcome, they now have clarity on the problem that they have and the solution that they could potentially have, and they've identified that. Then and only then do you talk about your services. The key here is to talk about the what and not the how. Here's what we can do for you, not here's how we're going to do this for you. For example, what we're going to do is we're going to create a plan for you. In that plan, we're going to discover the 3 to 5 ways that we can help you solve that overpayment problem to save you 20 to 30% on your tax liability. What we don't say is we're going to do this strategy in the US tax code and this strategy in the US tax code. If you over-explain that, you now go into what's called preaching versus influencing. When you preach, you turn on their brain that needs to figure out all of the details in order to make a buying decision. Remember, our job as the professional looking to influence on this call rather than preach is not to solve their problem. It's to identify the problem and a plan to solve it. What they're paying us for are the solutions that we can offer, but not teaching them how to do it. If I give them too much information during this process, what will likely happen is their brain will say, that's a lot for me to think about. Let me think about this. Send me more information. They get overwhelmed. Clarity sells and confusion repels. Once you've clearly identified what it is their problem is and the potential solution, in this section, we talk about what that solution will look like. Then and only then do you ask for the business. You spend the majority of your time learning about them on a sales call rather than the majority of their time trying to learn from you on the sales call. Here's an example of preaching. You definitely qualify for the Augusta rule, and here's exactly how that Augusta rule will play out. What we're gonna wanna do is make sure we have Form A, Form B, and Form C, and we're gonna wanna make sure that you document this in these 3 ways. By starting to get into the how we're going to do this, what you're actually doing is creating more confusion for their brain. Remember, they're paying you for the how. They're buying the simplicity of your services. So you'd want to make it sound like this. Based on everything you shared, it sounds like you qualify for the Augusta rule. Once you join our program, we'll be able to execute exactly how to do that to make sure you're compliant with the IRS and not raising any red flags. What this does is provide reassurance that you know what you're doing, that they probably qualify, and that you're going to stay compliant so they don't have to worry about all the fears and doubts that they might have around flagging the IRS. A sales call is like a relay race. If there's 4 parts to a relay race, you have 4 people running the relay race. Our goal on this call is not to overrun our race or to run the whole race ourselves. Our goal on that first call is to scratch enough of the itch to demonstrate that you know what you're doing, provide reassurance and clarity on the next step, but to hand the baton to the delivery team. The delivery team, if that's you or if that's your team, their job is to run the next stretch of the race. By talking about the how on a sales call, we are now running the entire race ourselves, giving them too much to think about and tiring out the prospect, giving them a lot to think about, causing them to say, let me think about it, let me ask my spouse, or I'll get back to you, can you send me more information? What we want is to make it incredibly simple. We run our race, say, here's the baton, let's move you to the next step with the delivery team by not oversharing. By knowledge dumping on a sales call, you think you're actually serving this client, but in reality, what you're creating is more complexity for them, thinking that they can go execute these strategies on their own and never really taking action on it. Your best service to them is to get them to take action by buying your products and services so that you can support them in a meaningful way, not in a short 30-minute or 45-minute intro sales call. Hey, if you like this video, you're definitely gonna like this next one. Go ahead and check it out and I'll see you over there.